Lesson 30. Listen and learn. Bingo. I've got this idea, Dad. If I connect a battery to an electric motor and have the motor turn an electric generator and connect the generator to the battery so that the electricity the generator produces goes to recharge the battery, wouldn't this setup run forever? The electricity would go in a cycle, making more and more electricity. We could have power our whole house this way. Mr. Little Son, I hate to disappoint you, but this has been tried before. Imagine you are a serious scientist and you think you are about to discover something very amazing. But someone comes along and tells you that they've already tried your idea. What a disappointment. But then you realize this saved you a lot of time. Learning what others have done and listening to their advice can be the most useful tool of the scientific method and the easiest to use. Research. Scientists spend some time at the library, then in the laboratory. Why do an experiment when all you need to do is read a book? Bert. I'm going to do my science fair project on my revolutionary idea that better light bulbs can be made by stuffing strips of paper into a glass tube and lighting them with an electric spark. Jenny. You might try reading about Thomas Edison's experiments with a light bulb. He found that tungsten produces more light than strips of paper do. If a scientist has a question, he doesn't begin by doing an experiment. He reads books on the subject, he searches the internet, he talks with other scientists. He's probably not the first person to be interested in this subject. Other scientists may have done experiments that he can build on. Research number 1. List the important terms and keywords related to your topic. Look these words up at the big library or on the internet. 3. Keep copies of what you find in a notebook. And 4. Look for 2 or more different viewpoints on your subject. If a scientist discovers that his question has been answered, he is happy. He can invest his time pursuing a different question. But if he doesn't find an answer, then it's off to the laboratory to start an experiment. Peer review. A peer is someone at your level. Your friends are your peers. A good scientist will ask other scientists to inspect his work to see if he's missed anything. A good parent will ask for parenting advice. A good artist will invite his friends over to critique his sculpture. Authors of books such as The Thinking ToolBox send lessons to their friends for honest criticism. They want peer review. You may have heard stories about reclusive scientists who discovered revolutionary ideas, but this is not how ordinary science grows. If we do our work in isolation, this isn't good science. A wise man will hear and increase learning, and a man of understanding will attain wise counsel. Proverbs 1:5, the New King James Version. Listen to counsel and receive instruction, that you may be wise in your later days. Proverbs 19:20, the New King James Version. When you ask for advice, don't be shy. Most people enjoy giving their opinions, especially scientists. Go to a college or university and talk to a qualified scientist about your question. Peer review, number 1. Talk to your friends about what you plan to do. Ask if they have any ideas. Number 2. Interview an authority on your subject, like a teacher, historian, or doctor. Exercises A. In the following examples, could the scientist have done a better job using peer review or research to reach his goal? How? Number 1. Bert couldn't think of a science project he wanted to do, so his mom told him to do one on crustaceans. Bert had never heard that word before, but he was too proud to ask what it meant. So he went to the library and asked the librarian where the section on crustaceans was. She gave him a quizzical look and pointed to where he might find books on the lost city of Atlantis. He walked down the aisle, and the first thing he saw was a big picture book on World War II tanks. Cool. He sat in the aisle for an hour looking at pictures and trying to decide if he'd rather have a Sherman or a Tiger tank for his birthday. He photocopied a page about thrust stations and how the Germans used a technique called blitzkrieg to invade France. His mom wasn't impressed. Number 2. Jenny was interested in too many subjects. She had to pick what to do her project on, and she chose crustaceans. She went to the Chinese buffet in town and asked the cook if he had any live crawdads he could spare. She smuggled these into a fish tank in her room and performed mysterious tests on them with an eyedropper and a sewing needle. She was afraid her friends might copy her work, so she hid what she was doing until the day of the science fair. When the lady at the registration table saw what was in her fish tank, Jenny was disqualified from breaking Rule 365A on the humane treatment of animals. Number 3. Howard had a secret he told to only a few friends. He knew how to build a perpetual motion machine. The idea was so simple that it was amazing that other scientists had never thought of it before. His machine involved magnets, and when he drew pictures of it, it looked like a huge crab. He said that if he ever built it, it would be called the crustacean machine. He hoped someday to build a prototype. Number 4. Tara Turner never liked dark corners or tight spaces. She has no idea how her brother Terence got her to go caving. Now she can't even see Terence's feet. That boy! How do you expect me to fit under the wet rock? What? Why is your voice echoing? Wow, there's a room on the other side. Tara wriggled a little further in the mud and meets a cave cricket. Looking at her, remain motionless. Tara thinks, as panic creeps into her mind. Crickets are related to the crustacean family, and they are more afraid of me than I am of them. Number 5. Alberto Fujimori has always been interested in sand crabs. Since he lives on Oahu, Hawaii, he can go down to the beach and watch the crabs whenever he wants. For many months, he walks to the beach to observe crab behavior. Alberto talks to his neighbor, Jacques Cousteau, about what he is seeing, and Cousteau recommends he keep a notebook of his observation and take pictures. Alberto comes to some startling conclusions about what crabs do in their spare time, which he writes down in an essay and mails to his friend Jacques. He receives an enthusiastic reply and is flown to the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research, Wellington, New Zealand, for a conference on crustacean behavior.